Hello friends, welcome back to my channel for another math class. Today's lesson will be about functions. This is quite a hard concept and it's a very broad concept, and you will be using this all throughout your middle school and probably your high school math classes as well. I'm doing Algebra 2 right now, and you definitely do use functions quite a bit, but I'm just going over the very basics of it, so hopefully you guys will be able to get it once I cover the lesson. If you guys have any questions about the content I teach in today's lesson, please make sure you just let me know in the comments down below or on one of my social media platforms right here. Ask me on my Instagram or my Twitter, comment on one of my posts, or DM me privately. Doesn't really matter. So yeah, as I said, it's a harder concept to grasp today, but it will be fun if you get it. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get on with the video. Let's go. So here is just kind of a little bit of like an overview of what we're going to be covering in today's lesson. We are just going to be covering what is a function, because that's definitely very important. Then we're going to be covering kind of like the basics of domain and range. I'll have to cover these in another video though. Next, we're going to cover input and output tables, which aren't too hard to understand. And finally, I'll be teaching you guys a strategy to tell whether a function is a function on a graph or not. And it's super easy, and it makes finding functions on a graph extremely easy and super fun. So first, I just have some basic 3 definitions that are extremely important to know, understand functions. So the first definition is, what are functions? It's a function, so it's very important. So a function is just a relation with exactly one output for each input. I'll explain that, of course, and I'll show you guys, because I know textbook definitions make it very hard to understand sometimes. Next, what is the domain? A domain is the set on input values in a function. So it's like the x values, which is it's also known as like the input value. And finally, what is range? The range is the set on output values in a function, so also known as the y values or the output values. So I'm going to show you guys a couple examples of just functions. So the first one is, as you guys can see, I labeled the functions. So these are like the input values. There are 3 input values. So the input values are just 1, 3, and 6. And there is 3 output values which correspond with each input value. So the output values are 2, 4, and 7. Now, here is what we call an input-output value table. And you can do it vertically as well, but I just did it horizontally. Yeah, I tried to color code it. So the input is green, so it's also known as the X. And the purple, this dark purple, is the Y. As you guys can see, I just kind of put each thing in, and I tried to draw arrows to kind of make it just a little bit easier maybe, so you guys can kind of figure that out. 1 corresponds with 2, 3 corresponds with 4, and 6 corresponds with 7. From what I know, functions don't always have to have a specific pattern, so they can honestly go in whatever order. This could literally just be 1, 3, 5, 9, 7, 12. There's no specific pattern, but every input value has to have exactly 1 output value. Moving on to the second example of a function. Once again, I just put the input values. This time there are 4 inputs, but there are 3 outputs. And you may be asking, wait, how does that work? Because doesn't all input values only have 1 output value? And yes, that is true. But what I mean by that is, I just put the rule down here because I understand it's a little bit confusing. But inputs can have only 1 output, but an output can be from multiple inputs. So as you guys can see here, the 1 is an output of both input 1 and 3. So you guys can see here, the X is the input and the Y is the output. 1 is an output for 2 numbers. But that's acceptable, and I'll show you guys how you guys can tell. Yeah, you guys can see it's repeated twice, but that's okay because it's technically still a function. However, if you guys want to see what's not a function, that would be this. This is not a function. As you guys can see, I just drew like the arrows again, and here there are only 3 inputs and 4 outputs. This does not work because one input cannot have more than one output. But one output can come from several different inputs. This is not a function because, yeah, as you guys can see, there's only 3 inputs and 4 outputs. You cannot have more output values than input values, or else that means at least one of the input values has more than one output value, and that's not allowed, and that's not a function. You guys can kind of see in comparison, an output can have more than one input, but input cannot have more than one output. So yeah, now I will just be showing you guys how to like kind of graph functions on like a graph and how to test whether it's a function on a graph or not. So just like a simple rule that always works for functions, it's called the vertical line test. It's super simple, and the vertical line test is basically says a relation is a function only when no vertical line intersects the graph of the relation at more than one point. Once again, I understand this is a super textbooky kind of definition and it's not easy to understand just by reading it once. So I feel like giving you guys examples would be a lot better. So here I just gave you guys the example from above, the first example. So the inputs and the outputs are on the graph now. You can kind of think as coordinates 1, 2, and this one would be 3, 4, and this one would be 6, 7. So yeah, as you guys can see, I just tried to color code them. So 1, 2 will be red, 3, 4 will be yellow, and 6, 7 will be green. When you guys plot the points, you can just draw lines straight up and down. And if there's only one point on the vertical line that you draw, that means it's a function. If there's more than one point on the line though, then that kind of means that it's not a function. Because that kind of means basically that that input, that x value, has more than one output, the y value. And that's not allowed, I said. So yeah, if you guys see just one point on each vertical line, then that means it's a function. Moving on to the second example from above. This is the one with 4 inputs and 3 outputs. I just tried to color code them. So 0, 3, 0, 3 is red, 1, 1 is yellow, 3, 1 is green, and 4, 2 is light blue. So yeah, as you guys can see, the vertical line test does work. There's only one point on every single vertical line that you draw. If they're on like kind of like this still does work because there is something that you use the horizontal line test for, but that's a very complicated thing that you will not get into until Algebra 2, and we're learning about Algebra 1, so you don't need to learn that yet. So yeah, and now I will show you guys just like the last example, which is what a function does not look like. So this is the last example before we move on to the quiz. So as you guys can see, this is just like the example that is not a function, which has 3 inputs and 4 outputs, which I said is not allowed. So 1, 6 is pink, 1, 8 is yellow, 5, 3 is green, and then finally 2, 6 is blue. So once again, horizontal lines is okay. It can still be a function, as you guys can see here. However, this vertical line has more than one coordinate or point on that line. There is 2, which is 1, 6, the pink dot, and then there's 1, 8, the yellow dot. And that is not a function because once again, the line has more than one point intersecting it. So these, if it was just these 2, then yeah, that's a function. If you got rid of one of these, the yellow or the pink one, then it would still be a function because there's still only one. However, because there's both on this specific line, it's not a function. So yeah, overall, the vertical line test is extremely important to know. That will literally be a lifesaver in when you have to find whether like a function is a function on a graph, which is really useful. So yeah, now we will moving on to the advanced room, so let's go. So now we are in the advanced room. Hooray. This is just going to be a short 4-question quiz. First, we just have this one question. So just ignore the graph so far because I will plot the points out once you guys solve the question. So yeah, just look at this table right here with the x and y values. I'm just going to give you guys 3 seconds to solve this question and find out whether it's a function. And if you guys need more time, of course, pause the video and unpause it when you're done and ready to answer. So yeah, 3 seconds. Done. So if you guys looked closely, each input has exactly one output. There is no funny business here. So I'll just graph it out for you guys because I think that's like a super good way to show you guys. I think like visually showing is a lot better. So I'll color code it like this. 15 will be red, 210 will be yellow, 315 will be green, and then finally 420 will be light blue. So first to graph this, we're gonna get 1, the x is 1, and the y is 5. So it'll look like this. Then we have 210, x is 2, and the y is 10. Next up we have the green, which is 315. So 315. And finally we have 4 and 20. So 4 and 20. So if you guys just like do the simple vertical line test, hopefully you guys found that there was no overlapping points on one line, therefore meaning it is a function. So yeah, you guys can just see 5, this red point has its own line. There's nothing else above it. This yellow point has its own line as well. There's nothing else above or under it. This green line has its own line. And finally, the blue line has its own line. So therefore, yes, this is a function. So if you guys got it right, then very, very, very good job. Phenomenal. And yes. So now we'll be moving on to the next question. So this is just the same type of question. And hopefully it shouldn't be too hard after you solved the last one. So I will just give you guys another 3 seconds to figure this one out and whether it's a function or not. Done. So with this one, if you guys looked, then you guys can see every input had exactly one output. So it is a function, and to kind of graph it out, once again, and just give you a bit of a visual representation. If you guys start at 10 and then go up by 3, and then you go to 11 and go up by 4, then you go to 12 and go up by 5, and then finally 13, go up by 6. You should hopefully see, once again, there is absolutely no touching, I guess, on each line. Each line it's just like has only one point. So yeah, this definitely does pass the vertical line test, meaning yes, it is a function once again. So now we'll be moving on to the third question. Maybe this one just looks a little bit different because I just gave you the graph straight up. So I'll just give you guys 3 seconds. This should be really easy to just kind of figure out whether it's a function or not. Just look at it very carefully, examine it, analyze it. So yeah, once again, I'll just give you guys 3 seconds. Done. So if you guys draw the lines, this first point is 1, 3. This has its own line. The next point is this yellow line. And this is 3, 6. Once again, it has its own line. The next point, if you saw this, then I applaud you. But then again, it could have just been really easy. This green point down here is 4, 0, because it's just on the x-axis. However, it does not have its own line because it intersects with the blue dot, which is 4, 6. So because of that, this is not a function because there is more than one point on this line, meaning it is not a function. Moving on to the final question of the advanced room, and this is the last one, and it just kind of looks like the last one, number 3. So this is a function, or maybe it's not a function. I will give you guys another 3 seconds to figure this question out. Done. So the answer to this one is, if you guys just do the vertical line test, this first red point is 1, 1. This yellow point is 2, 2. However, it does not have its own line because of this. Because of this point, which is 2, 7.5. There's more outputs than there is inputs. So this is not a function. So no, you don't even need to complete the rest of the vertical line test. However, I will just for reference purposes. But once you see that there is more than one point on each line, you don't even have to do the rest of the test. You can just instantly call it's not a function. Because there is quite literally no exception to the vertical line test rule. So this is the end of the quiz. Hopefully it wasn't too hard because there wasn't any equations or any actual math number solving. So yeah, next week will probably be a little bit about graphs, just because I realized that maybe not everyone knows how to do graphs. If you guys don't know how to do graphs, then you'll have a little bit of problem with this stuff that I went over today. So that's coming probably next week. So this is the end of my lesson today. Let me know how you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys found it fun. Hopefully you guys were able to get 4 out of 4, 100%, everything correct on the test. If you guys didn't, of course, that's always okay, because you guys are probably beginners if you guys are watching the video. And well, I don't expect you to know exactly how to do this. I don't expect you to master it instantly. So if you need to watch the video 2, 3, 4, 10 times, that's totally okay. And if you guys need more help, then obviously just let me know below, because I'm here to help. So I'm more than happy to help you. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys liked the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, it really does mean a lot, and turn on notifications so that way whenever I upload, you guys will get a new notification and you guys can watch. Also, make sure to go follow my Instagram and the Twitter, which will be on the screen. I try and update you guys as much as I can on there. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I will see you guys next week with a brand new video. Bye!